What is the funniest lie to tell kids? My friend is a little person. One time when we were out, a little girl asked her why she was so short. She told the girl that her shoes ate her feet and the bottoms of her legs, and we kept walking. I looked back to see the little girl frozen in fear looking at her feet. Me, how old are you now? Kid, 6. Me, wow, when I was your age I was only 9. It's great to see the very puzzled look on their faces. My sister told me that yellow leaves tasted like bananas and brown tasted like chocolate. I apparently went and ate leaves, but came back and told her they don't taste how she said they would. She told me I must have eaten a bad batch, so I continued to try find and eat these tasty leaves. Too bad you couldn't find a star leaf. Those things looked amazing. My friend said he was once in the car with his family and they drove past an industrial plant. Smoke was billowing out of a chute, as they do at these plants. He asked his mom what it was, and she told him it was the cloud factory and those were the clouds being released into the sky. He said he honestly thought clouds were man-made for a better portion of his life. I always thought it was some dude's job to wake up before everyone else, strap on a jetpack, and make the clouds himself. On days it was cloudless, it was his day off. My father, may he rest in peace, had 3 toes amputated. When in public pools with kids around, he would stick his foot out of the water and tell them a pool shark got him. You've never seen little kids literally run on water to get out of the pool. When I was a kid, my dad used to tell me he was turning the car indicator off, and he was just so fast I couldn't see him do it. I'd spend every car ride staring at the indicator arm to catch him. It went on for months, until he finally explained it turns off automatically after you turn. I was furious for days. He of course thought it was hilarious. When we were in the car, and it was raining, my mom would wait for a bridge or tunnel, and as we approached it, she would tell us she was going to make the rain stop in 3, 2, 1. She told us she could only make the rain stop for a minute because it made her so tired. My siblings and I were convinced she was magic. That, as their father, I could change their names whenever I wanted to. One time I pretended to get on the phone with the Arizona name registry and renamed my 2 kids Snuggle and Gorf because they kept misbehaving. They were bullying. I could barely keep a straight face. So the lie itself isn't all that funny. My parents told me a car couldn't start until everyone's seat belts were buckled. One day my grandmother started her car before I was buckled, and little Red Sox 933 lost his and started screaming how the car was broken. I imagine if I was an adult in the car I would have hard time not laughing. When I was little, I built a Lego remote control for the TV. My dad was like, hey, see if it will change the channel. I kept hitting it. Nothing. All of a sudden, a few channels change, and I'm screaming and jumping up and down. Then it stopped working. My dad goes, that was magic. Awesome Lego remote. Thanks, Dad. That the toy monster steals their toys at night, specifically the ones that aren't put away. As a child, my parents told me if I did something bad I was going to baby jail. I believed in baby jail until I was like 12 years old. If I started crying in a public place, my dad would say, Mary, stop that, you don't want to go to baby jail, do you? And then I would just scream louder, like I don't want to go to baby jail. I was kind of a well-behaved kid until I realized baby jail wasn't real. Then I turned into a teenager and they told me that juvenile detention was a thing and I didn't believe them. My wife's parents convinced her that horses were cows and cows were horses. Every time they'd pass by driving, they used the wrong one. She argued with her kindergarten teacher furiously that her parents taught her well and that the teacher was wrong. Took a concerned teacher call to my in-laws and some ice cream to change her mind. I once told this long story, completely straight-faced, to my cousin, that I can't eat chocolate because allergies, even the tiniest piece would kill me. I said this, looking into his eyes and eating chocolate. He went to leave the room and he disappeared behind the wall, and I heard, wait a minute. I never laughed so hard in my life. My friend's parents told her that moose weren't real growing up, like unicorns and moose were both fictional creatures. When she got to high school, someone was talking about seeing a moose and she thought they were trying to be funny, and basically she found out at 16 that moose are, in fact, real. When she went home, to tell her parents her mom was in tears of laughter. So yeah, probably telling your kid growing up that a very existent animal is a fictional creature. I convinced my younger brother and my 2 nieces that I invented the moon. I lived away for 10 years and I told them that I had been living there on the moon in order to keep it working. They're older now, but they still remind me of this every so often and tell me how they convinced some of their friends of the same thing. When my daughter was 4, she decided she really wanted a horse. I told her that, since horses eat money, and I don't earn all that much, we simply couldn't get one. She believed that horses actually ate money until she was 14. Then she called me an asshole. In my defense, I have a cousin who has horses, and given how much she spends on them, I'm convinced to this day that they do actually eat money. That if they don't eat their vegetables they won't be able to poop and they'll explode. I once convinced my little brother that the big toe is the vital organ, and if you stub it hard enough, you could die. Like 2 weeks he wore shoes inside, until my mom yelled at him to take his shoes off, and he had a minor anxiety attack. I laughed so hard. When we were in the car, and it was raining, my mom would wait for a bridge or tunnel, and as we approached it she would tell us she was going to make the rain stop in 3, 2, 1. She told us she could only make the rain stop for a minute because it made her so tired. My siblings and I were convinced she was magic. My dad made the traffic lights turn green. I asked why he waited a few minutes before using his power, and he said it's important to let others have a turn and go ahead of you. When me and my brothers were kids and complained about something, my dad would go to the phone and say hello, complaint department, and describe our grievance. He said the complaint department for everybody was in Calgary and was run by someone called Chief Alakanoke, and he was getting tired of our complaints. I believed that for the longest time. I forget how it started, but my husband, boyfriend at the time, was trying to convince his 4-year-old brother that his feet were going to fall off. The lie got more and more elaborate, like explaining how he'd have to learn how to walk around on his ankles until his adult feet came in, etc. He was skeptical, even when I agreed that it was true, that everyone loses their baby feet before their adult feet grew in. At the time their house was being upgraded from dial-up internet to DSL, and the phone tech was wandering in, and he happened to come in towards the end and said, "Oh yeah, I remember when I lost my baby feet. Took a year for my new ones to come in." Little brother's face fell immediately because it must be true. If the stranger was collaborating, he ran out of the room to tell his mom, yelling, "But I like my feet," and we all laughed, even his mom, when she found out. He's an adult now, and my husband and I still razz him about it when we see him. I read about a father who told his daughter she was half human, half mermaid, but she had the top half of mermaid and bottom half of a human. Maybe not the funniest, but it's sure cute that they get to believe they are half mermaid. The ice cream truck only plays music when it's out of ice cream. My neighbors told their kids it was the broccoli truck. I was on a flight where a kid saw the button for calling a flight attendant, didn't know what it was, but clearly was thinking about pressing it, and so asked his dad what it did. His dad said it opens a trapdoor under your seat and drops you out of the bottom of the plane. Afterwards, the kid spent the whole flight intrigued by the button, thinking about and talking about pushing it, but too worried to actually do it. My friend's parents told her that moose weren't real growing up, like unicorns and moose were both fictional creatures. When she got to high school someone was talking about seeing a moose, and she thought they were trying to be funny, and basically she found out at 16 that moose are, in fact, real. When she went home to tell her parents her mom was in tears of laughter. So yeah, probably telling your kid growing up that a very existent animal is a fictional creature. When my youngest was in infant school aged 5 to 7, I could see his playground from our living room window, and when he came home from school I used to say things like, "Did you have a good game of football after lunch today?" Or, "I saw you playing tag with Steven." He used to be amazed, and I just used to say mums know everything. This lasted for a couple of years and now it's a family joke, but it's changed to Nana knows everything.